Notice that you actually have a pretty extensive README already. It's all about create React app. There's a lot of good information in there, most of which won't yet make any sense, but it's something to refer back to later. On mine, I'm gonna blow that README away and put in my own, so that it'll be useful when you look at my repo. But you could leave it there for a second, or you could go to the create React app GitHub project and see the documentation there. But it's pretty handy that it's right there. A lot of good stuff. So let's talk about what it did. I'm going to open this up in code now. So among other things, it automatically ran yarn install or npm install, which looks at all the dependencies listed in package.json and installs them for you. That's why we didn't have to type that command. It did it for us. But had it failed and we needed to do some troubleshooting, before we could run yarn start or npm start, we would have to run install again first. Yarn install or npm install. If you try to call npm install or yarn install without any additional parameters from outside a project folder, it won't do anything. So you may have run into this yesterday when we were looking at his thing. Because what those commands do is look at package.json and install the stuff that's listed there. So if you run those commands from a folder that doesn't contain package.json, it doesn't know what to do. And it creates this node modules folder that has about 1 billion things in it. That's what npm install and yarn install actually do. We've had some dependencies in the past. In other words, some third-party code that is required to run our stuff. Font Awesome is an example. Foundation is an example. And we've added those things a few ways now. First, we just pasted in a CDN link. Piece of cake, we didn't even have to download the file manually. Then, for Foundation on the second project, or for Font Awesome, we actually downloaded the files and placed them in our directory structure so that they were part of our project. This time, we're letting a package manager do the work for us. And as you can see, there are a whole lot of them, so we're pretty thankful we didn't have to download all of those ourselves. So it'll be really easy to add more dependencies as time goes on, which we will have to do at some point. So when you say npm install some specific package name, or yarn add some specific package name, what it does is downloads that, places it in this specific project in the node modules folder, and adds it to the list of dependencies. That's what changed, by the way, in npm 5 and why I had you upgrade. Previous versions of npm, you had to say --save as part of that command. But now it's just npm install whatever. And it automatically adds it to package.json. We list them here so that when someone else clones your repository and they run npm install or yarn install, it installs all the same stuff. Putting that stuff in your node modules folder wouldn't do them any good if you didn't also add it here. Because node modules is in our git ignore. We're not putting that in the repository because it's huge and it doesn't need to be there. Other people can just run npm install and get the exact same stuff. So that's part of what's going on already. So now, let's just make a couple quick changes before we make one more commit. Here's what we have right now, our spinning React logo. That's in index.html, which is in public. Yay. Let's go ahead and change the title here from React app to note header. And let's look at our app component. And that's in the source directory. What's the difference between the public and source directories? The source directory contains a bunch of stuff that will not be delivered to the browser as is. Again, this is why we have to use a web server. They will not actually load app.js. the build process that kicks off when we run npm start or yarn start is going to take all of this stuff, minify it. We've downloaded other people's minified files before, right? And it's going to smash all the JavaScript into one file, smash all the CSS into one file, minify them to make them as small as possible, and that's what's going to get sent. So the stuff in public actually gets sent to the browser as is. We'll see more about how this works later on. So I'm going to just get rid of everything inside this div inside app.js and just very temporarily type the word note herder so that I can see that it worked. And then while I'm at it, I'm going to take out this line that imports that logo. And then I'm actually going to delete the logo. We do not need that in our repository. That's not our file. So I'm going to right-click that and say delete. If you look, all right, I've got a problem. I didn't save my app.js, right? I deleted the file before I saved. So now it's gone. There are no errors. And I see what I typed in there. So you can make sure that that much works before you move on too much. Now let's revisit those files we downloaded from the other repo, the static repo. And you can go ahead and open up the folder containing note herder, open space dot or start space dot on Windows. Let's look what we have here. I've got static HTML, static CSS. I've got an XML file, a JSON file, and a bunch of images. I'm going to stick all of this stuff in the public folder on note herder. I'll copy rather than move. Not that it matters a whole lot because you're not coming back to this. But just copy that stuff into the public directory, not the source directory. You'll probably get a notice that there's already a favicon.ico in there. Hit replace. Manifest JSON, replace that too.
What is that second folder?
If you cloned my note static repository, if you did not, there's a link to it in Slack. Clone it or download it as a zip. You're not going to be pushing to it. You don't need to fork it if you don't want to. We're just going to use it for reference. So I didn't put this stuff inside index, and I didn't put it inside app or anything. But because it's in my public folder, I could visit localhost:3000/static.html and see it. Now don't get excited, none of this works. It just looks like a thing. But we can use it for reference. So if you want to keep that up, I'm going to right-click that tab in Chrome and say duplicate, and then go back to just localhost 3000. So I get back to the real app. So that's just there for us to refer to. The other files we copied over were mostly related to the favicon, because I really wanted to make a custom favicon, because I like to do that kind of thing. But we have to tell it to use it. So let's do that next. It's pretty easy. If you look at that static HTML, and by the way, I can't remember if I've pointed this out yet, but code has a fuzzy find feature, also found in Atom and Sublime Text and others. If you hit Command P or Control P and just start typing the name of the file you want to switch to, it goes right to it. It's a lot faster than trying to hunt for it in the sidebar sometimes. So I'm just going to go to static.html and look at that. And you'll see up here in the head, these right here, from link rel Apple Touch icon down to meta name theme color. I'm I'm going to copy those into index HTML, and I'm going to copy this into Slack as well, so it's clear which lines you need to copy. So switch from static HTML over to index HTML. And a couple of these lines are already there. We already have a theme color, so delete that. And we can leave these two lines about the manifest and the shortcut icon and paste all this other stuff underneath it. And then we'll see those are redundant too, but we're going to remove our copies of those, not theirs. So this one's manifest JSON, so remove this pasted line about manifest JSON. And actually, there isn't another line about favicon.ico. And then notice the comment underneath. Notice the use of public URL in the tags above. It will be replaced with the URL of the public folder during the build. Only files inside the blah-blah-blah will be snoopidoo from the humbalump. So the point is, we want to use this. Instead of just saying / Apple Touch icon, we want to say %public URL %Apple Touch icon. I'm going to do this the quick and easy way. You can do it the even quicker and easier way and wait for me to paste it in Slack. But I put my cursor here. I hold down Alt. I put my cursor there. Hold down Alt, and I put my cursor there. And I hold down Alt, and I put my cursor there. And I paste. And Viola. I know it's voila. I just wanted to honor the old graphical browser Viola. I did. Now, check this out. Haha, favicon. And our lives are enriched. I know. Try to contain your excitement. Makes it a little easier to hunt down in our Chrome, though. And it's something we would do for a real thing. And there are so many of them because if you were on an iPhone and you saved this to your home screen, you would get an icon that matches that instead of some generic thing. Same with Android. Heck, same with Windows. So we added all those icons. Not real significant, but it is a discrete step, and it did work. So I am inclined to save it. And I put in a bunch of line breaks here that I don't really need. So now I'll do the way that Seth showed you and use our source control stuff built right in to code. My commit message is add favicon. Oops. Commit. There are no stage, yes. This time only. And push. And that's that. Now let's start making components.